Okay, so let's fart around with this thing, all right? This Multix. Again, here is the URL to get in to the portal. Basically, first time you get in, you're going to see some, green screen intro stuff. But eventually you'll get to this main screen here, right? Hit sign up. Now this is where you're going to enter your crypto address. Basically, that'll be your login ID, right? For the admin stuff. Hit create. Okay, and now you've got to make sure that your credentials, you'll copy these down somewhere, right? Because if you just click on, you're going to come here and you're like, shit, I didn't write this down. Okay, so, but anyways, assuming that you do get past the screen, okay, there's going to be this, it's going to prompt you, right, to create at least one API key, right? Same thing, make sure you write these credentials down. Even though it says API key, it also has an identifier, so it's kind of like a login as well. So you get at least one of those going, and that's about it. There's not much else in this portal, right? There's some links to handy stuff, but the main thing is, getting started and going over to the cat box. Okay, so you click on that, and this is where you're going to enter your API credentials. Again, it's like your login. You get in there, and then should get to this screen here, right? So now here is, let's make this full screen. A little easier that way. So let's go ahead and create a project. Click on that, and then I'm going to go create a module. And then I'm going to go click on this, and that'll bring up the editor, right? Okay, so now we can jump into this thing. The way to read this file is there's three things going on at once, okay? There's your regular TypeScript, okay? Your regular comments in green, and then you've got these comments that are basically embedded Multix commands, okay? So the comment and then some sort of % sign. And yeah, these also work for multi-line comments too, okay? So yes, Multix commands can be multi-line if you want. So Multix stuff kind of comes in two flavors, right? You've got the regular commands, you kind of run one at a time. And then you've got this weird stuff up here at the top, okay? It's kind of more like a script, okay? So you can kind of imagine this file kind of has has a dual use, right? It's obviously a TypeScript file, but it's also doubles as a Multix script file, okay? I just kind of imagine all the TypeScript stuff has disappeared for a minute. So at the top, there's this exclamation, okay? And that's like an auto run, okay? So anytime you run a command, Multix is going to go look at this file and go look for any auto run commands and run those first, okay? And what these are doing here is, it's got this, Multix has a subshell syntax just like Linux, but it does track the continuation, okay? So what it's doing is it's calling this script called verbose and this script called default term, okay? And they're right down here. They're defined by basically putting this hash of this pound at the front of this command, like default term, and verbose basically names these as scripts, okay? So you can just call these like anything else. Now, what we're using all this stuff for is basically set up some environment variables, okay? And if you see what we're doing here, we're setting the logger terminal and the output terminal. And the next one is just verbosity. We'll talk about that in a bit. So we've got this logger terminal, catbox logger, okay? And catbox output. And funny enough, of course, we got two terminal windows in this catbox, right? So let's go down here and let's run a command, okay, date, right? So let's just I'll create a TypeScript comment and I'll add a % and then I'll type date. Okay, now I will run this by hitting Control right arrow or Command right arrow. It depends on how your keyboard's set up. Okay, but you'll see the date here in the bottom terminal, okay? Now, the other logger terminal didn't do much of anything right now for the command, but anyways. So what happens, though, is when I ran that command, okay, the auto run ran first. It picked up the environment variables. It says, okay, you want to use this logger terminal, this output terminal, okay? Now, you don't have to split your stuff into multiple terminals. It's really up to you, okay? Yeah, you can even have different commands going to different terminal configurations. I can list the terminals here with a command, okay? So it's like terminal ls, okay? And you'll see them both sitting here, the logger and the output, all right? I can just do help at any time, just type help. Or I can do help keyword, like help keyboard, let's say. And that will show me all the keyboard arrow stuff, like control right arrow one's a command, control up and down, let me page through the history without having to actually, move over to the terminal window and use a scroll bar. Okay, if you like to keep your fingers on the keyboard. Now, shift control up and down is a smooth scroll. Okay, and then control left arrow just clears the terminal. Right. So, I mean, we could even add another terminal. So let's say add one right now. And I log in, and this is just going to be a default terminal. When you log in, you don't specify anything. And I run date. And now you can kind of see the verbose and the default term stuff being called. Okay. And again, if I run terminal ls, we'll see that this new terminal is sitting here in the list. Okay, this default. Now I can name it, right? So say I put /Tartu here in the URL. Okay, so the terminal name is now Tartu. Okay, so I change the output to Tartu and run terminal ls again, and look at that. The output goes to Tartu. Okay, just like we want. Now this obviously makes more sense if you have multiple monitors and maybe you want program output in one screen, database on the other, that sort of thing. We're still playing around with this, getting ideas. Okay, but now it's time. Let's just try to just run some TypeScript. Okay, so we'll come down here to this foo. We've got a function foo sitting here. Okay, and just above this function foo, I've got this command foo. Okay, what happens is that functions are first class objects. I mean, this function, all right, should be first class. So I can just call this directly. I don't have to pass any arguments to it, and it'll run it. And look at that. We've got, Hello Kitty in the logger terminal, and it's syslogger. It's not going to be console.log. Will just go, somewhere in the machinations of Node. Okay. And we can have it return a value. Let's say we return 42. Okay, and so Hello Kitty goes to the one, and 42 goes to the other. Okay. Now, another thing, I can just go change the message, right? Now, I'm on this Hello Kitty, so hello there, kitty. I'm on this, and I'm going to hit control right arrow, okay? And it's going to run. So what Multix is doing is that it's going to start at my cursor, okay? And it's going to go up until it finds the first Multix command, which is this foo. So even though I'm on this line here, it's going to bounce up to here. So that's kind of why you kind of gate these functions by putting these commands at the top. So whatever command you hear is going to be kind of the default function you hit. It's just a convenience mechanism. If you're in a really big function, you don't want to have to keep moving the cursor back all the way to the top again. Okay. Now, you probably noticed they don't bother saving anything before I run it. That's because, Multix is obviously auto-saving something here, right? But it's also hot loading, okay? So Multix kind of flips the traditional server approach kind of upside down. Normally you start with code and then you've got to kind of build up a server around it. Multix is kind of like an empty server. It's already running. You just need to provide some code, okay? So this eliminates, a lot of the usual deployment headache. So let's come down to this fart function, right? I mean, this is the whole point it came here, right? And I'm going to run it. Okay, so do control right arrow. I mean, what's the point of new technology if it can't even make a fart sound? Okay. I mean, this was basic computer stuff back in the day. But, these days it's kind of non-trivial because, somehow the code has to run in the browser to get access to the speaker. Okay. So let's look at the message here. It says the job was pushed to worker DW63, okay? Now, DW is display worker, okay? browser, basically. And if you look down here, you'll see that this cat box is running as DW63, okay? And by the way, you can just list the workers, okay? You just type worker ls, and DW63 is the only one running right now, okay? Now I can start another worker on my mobile phone and run it again, okay? And the fart sound will then round robin between the PC and the mobile phone. Okay, quite funny, really. Especially if you use a really wet fart sound, okay? Now, you might be thinking, well, you can't just push code down like that to a mobile device. It's not safe. Well, I got bad news. This is exactly how async ES modules work now, okay? So anyways, what I'm trying to say here is that Multix goes a bit beyond the traditional cloud because it's really easy to add new workers, okay? And they can be running anywhere. Anyways, so we'll get into how these modules are routed to workers another time. That's probably enough for now. You can annoy your coworkers. If you have issues, just drop a note in Discord or Telegram. Should be a link somewhere down below. And I'll see you next time. Okay, thanks.